Hello friend, Jim here with JB's Big Adventure coming to you from Lake Chapala, Mexico. Now today's subject, believe it or not, has probably been one of the biggest requests that I've had over probably the last 3 to 4 weeks. And when I'm asked about different subjects, you'll find that our channel isn't just by just throwing a bunch of videos on or just producing a bunch of videos just to get videos on, to get subscribers, to get views, but they're well thought out. And there's a lot of times where I put scripts to things to make sure that I'm able to come across and be able to deliver the message and to be able to articulate the information well. I do research and I really look into things before I just put a video together. So today what we're going to be talking about is Montezuma's revenge. That's right. I'm going to cover 4 things about it. The first is going to be what is Montezuma's revenge? The second is the cause or what the problem is, what causes that. Also then precautions and what to expect. And then the fix or the cure, how to get the relief. Now what I can share with you is this, that it isn't something that you want to get. And so in today's video, we're going to be talking about toilet paper. We're going to talk about bottled water. We're going to be talking about soap and the things that are important for you to be able to stay healthy. Now, what is Montezuma's revenge? It is severe abdominal cramps. As a matter of fact, it's from bloating. There is normally a high fever connected with it, nausea, vomiting, and also the diarrhea that comes along with it. And that takes place probably 3 to 4 times a day. And what's happening is your body's become dehydrated. And you've lost a lot of bodily fluids. And you've lost water. You've lost salt. And so this feeling, which is not pleasant, it's not comfortable, it's miserable, can last between 2 to 3 to 4 days. So what I'm going to share with you today is what causes it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some of the precautions that you can make and some of the things that you might need to make sure that you've got. So now let's go ahead and talk about the cause of Montezuma's revenge. Okay, now we're going to talk about the cause or the problem. Now, first of all, remembering that this is Mexico. And Mexico isn't sanitary. And there's no real sanitary code, and it's not real clean, and it's been this way for a long time. So those of us that are either looking at moving and retiring to Mexico or already here, there's some important things to know about Montezuma's revenge. Body waste actually has its own cycle. In this cycle, what happens is this: leaky pipes burst, human waste escapes. The bottom line, that's really what happens. Now, how is it that happens here in Mexico? Well, the rainy season comes and the waste finds its way back to the surface. And so what happens is streets are flooded, homes are flooded, and that ends up spreading the disease. Now, sewage has its way of filtering itself back into the pipes that actually carries clean water. Because when they do break, it ends up being that there's contamination that takes place. So you've got this constant cycle. And here's what happens. Toilets, cracked pipes that are below the earth end up in the water system. And that ends up back to the city in what's called brown rain, which basically means it's in the air. And what this does is it settles on food and foods that are being sold basically out on the street. So it's continually being consuming. Now, what happens when this is eaten then? The leading cause is to diarrhea that is then discharged into public toilets. Now, because there's no sanitary codes, that really dictates how toilets and urinals are constructed and installed by people who are not engineers and they are not plumbers. So when you enter into a public toilet, everything has bacteria on it. It's very easily transmitted from use to use, and the cycle itself never gets cleansed. So what you have is this constant contaminated water that not only is in the ground, but it's also in the air. When the public toilets are used, it turns out that the cycle just keeps on going. And because of the non-sanitary ways that the sewer system, the septic system, or the bodily waste system is taken care of here in Mexico, that issue never really gets resolved. And because it isn't something that just happens a few times, it's something that happens a lot. And you might say, well, how is it that young kids don't get sick? Well, they do get sick. They drink the tap water. But what happens is they end up creating a resistance to it. But as the older that you get, the easier it is to be able to be contaminated, get the bacteria, and you get sick all over again. And because the public toilets are being used, there's just a lot of bad germs and all that go around. That's why, in fact, on the video, it said yuck, and it said yikes, and it said, oh no, because it is something that takes place. Now, I have visited several of the public toilets here in the Lake Chapala area, and I've noticed this. Now, what I'm going to do, and this is not going to be a long video, what I now want to do is I want to talk to you about the precautions that you can take and how you can really protect yourself from getting Montezuma's revenge. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some of the things of what to expect, what not to expect, and then being able to help yourself, cure yourself, provide relief if in fact you get Montezuma's revenge. So I'm going to bring back the items that I had here in my hand earlier. And these are going to be really, really important things for you. And here's why. Don't be surprised if you go to a public toilet and find out that there is not good ventilation, or that there's no lights, or the lights have been stolen or don't even work. Maybe there's not any doors on the stalls if you're going in and not using the urinal. How about in regards to there might not be any toilet paper? There might not be a toilet seat, nor any kind of running water, let alone hot running water. So some of the things you might want to have is have toilet paper with you, have napkins with you. There are probably not going to be any soaps. You want to make sure that you've got soap with you. Also, you can carry these simple things in your car, and you can also make sure you've got water also. Now, what you're really going to want to make sure of when you're using the restroom is that you're protecting you, because nobody else is going to be. So some of the things you don't want to do. Ladies, you don't want to be taking your purses in and setting your purses on the ground. You don't want to be taking your belongings in there. If you're going to your purse, you might want to put it over your neck or some way to where it's not actually hitting the ground. And if you're going and you're actually doing number 2, you're going to want to make sure that you're also squatting, because you're not going to find toilet seats on most of the public toilets. On top of that, you want to make sure you probably have hand sanitizer also for you. Now, there'll be times that you go into a public toilet and there's going to be a trash can that will be right there by the toilet. That is so you don't flush the toilet paper down the toilet, but you're actually putting it into that trash can. I realize that really isn't sanitary, but it's just the way it is here in Mexico. So that's something you really want to make sure you're watching out for. So realizing that the bacteria is everywhere, you don't really want to be touching anything as best as possible, even if you want to take disposable gloves with you. I've heard that being said quite a few times in some of the studies and research that I did. And that would be the toilet itself, it would be the seat, it would be the door, or even how you go and you flush the toilet if not use your feet and such. So let's talk about now in closing how to protect yourself. Well, we already talked about the fact that the reason that you get sick and get Montezuma's revenge and you really feel bad, is because we're losing fluids, bodily fluids, and we have to make sure we're keeping ourselves hydrated. Now, there are things that you can go to the pharmacy and get, such as Imodium. Another one that I've seen is Pepto-Bismol. Those help when, in fact, you are getting Montezuma's revenge. Another thing that's really be helpful is to be able to get a lot of rest, but you're going to want to make sure that you're replacing the fluids. Now, something also it does that has electrolytes and such in it is going to be like sport drinks, like Gatorade, which has the salts and it has the fluids that our body needs. Remember that this lasts between 2 to 3 days, maybe 4 days at the most, for the most part, unless you feel like you're needing to seek the help of a doctor. But what's really, really important is you need to watch out for yourself. Make sure you have things with you that will help keep you protected, making sure that you're keeping clean, making sure as best as possible that you're not getting the bacteria and the things that cause Montezuma's revenge. I hope this video has been very helpful for you on this subject. I hope all of you that have actually requested some information on this, I hope that suffices for you and gives you the real insight of what you're looking for. Again, I've probably had over the last 3 to 4 weeks, this is one of the things that folks have actually asked me about doing a video on. So I wanted to make sure that I had the correct and exact information for you. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you haven't already, I'd like to encourage you to subscribe. It's a great family, it's a great channel, and you will not be disappointed. You can go and take a look at all the other videos that we've got about not only looking at making a decision to move into Mexico, but moving to Mexico and a lot of the things that takes place in Mexico that you might not have thought about before. Also, there's a video that we did recently if you can be on the opportunity of getting to know my wife and I a little bit also. And if you'd like, leave a comment. We love reading your comments. If you have a question about something shared today, or if you'd like to have a video yourself that's done on something here in Mexico that you'd like to know more about, leave that in the comment. Make sure you hit the bell because you do not want to miss our next video that's coming out. You do not want to miss it. Make sure you're notified immediately when that happens. Also, give us a thumbs up. What that does is helps other viewers see that this is a video that they'd like to watch to kind of understand, know a little bit more about something that's important to them when in fact they're also visiting in New Mexico. And with that, as I say always, we really appreciate you. We really do. Have an awesome day, and we'll see you on the next video.